I missed the email. Did somebody else send comments on that lease agreement?
I had comments within the lease that I had made notes of,
Okay,
which is what he was referencing.
gotcha. Okay.
I think you guys had copies. Well, that was a copy I had sent to Frank, so you had copies of it.
Okay. I guess I didn't look at it. I thought it was just the same copy that I sent. Okay.
No, it had my notes in it and notations.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not the attorney here, right? But you got to be able to somehow use that Liberty one and this one and just mesh them with the same dollars. I mean, I think Verizon's there are definitely some things in here that they may come back on, like the confidentiality, which, I mean, isn't going to work when we know that, but if they want to do it, they're going to have to allow it to be out there.
And we got to create a sublease. So.
And it needs to be, yeah, it needs to be a sublease, not a land lease, direct agreement. And I think, so there was two things that came up. Yeah, I thought I wrote that down somewhere, but maybe not.
The price per square foot, that was one of the biggest things I think I looked at, was that they had the numbers wrong in the contract. So are they
Yeah.
going to pay us more per square foot, or are they have agreed on the amount and they just have to fix the square foot price?
Well, I don't think that the dollars were coming from square footage. I think it was coming from tenants on the pole.
Market.
So initially, this $18.75 a month is just coming from Verizon. If T-Mobile, AT&T, Direct TV, I guess they said could be in there. Anytime they add another tenant to it, we are going to get additional rent. So for me, the square footage isn't that important. I mean, we should definitely have it corrected in the lease, but I don't think the rent is based on square footage.
It's not.
Okay.
It's based on market.
Yeah.
The square footage for the most part is fairly irrelevant, but it needs to be consistent.
And are we going to have land? Did I read that we may have some land development that we're going to have to do? Get some approvals from the board?
It would require a land development plan or a waiver from that requirement, but that would be unusual for the township to do.
Yeah, I guess there's a couple things, right? So we have the access road, which is one, and it's crossing boundary lines. So again, not my specialty here as far as who we have to talk to, or who has to approve, I guess, that access road that they would like.
The borough, the borough. Sorry, long day. The Board of Supervisors needs to sign the sublease at some point, but
Right,
they also would have to enter into a lease for that access drive.
because we don't have that. Ours ends in this black line here, right?
Correct.
And a sublease would be a lot less documentation than this would be, right? We could do a sublease between the RA and the township.
It would be a sublease between the rec authority and the tower people. And the township would sign off on that sublease.
Just the way they have with Blue Collar.
Yes. Yes.
So will that require an extra document?
That part, no, but then when you cross the boundary, that would be a separate document between the township and the Verizon.
That the rec authority is entering into. Or you're saying that it would be the township signing that document with Verizon
Yes. For the easement.
for just the easement, right?
We wouldn't give it until we had I wouldn't think we would give an easement to Verizon until we had an agreement with
On
the
this
Recreation
sublease.
Authority and,
Mhm.
I mean, we could toss this around for an hour, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you could circle back to Frank and maybe he could give us like next steps on this. I mean, he's obviously gone through the document and identified the issues, potential issues.
I think a lot of it just stems of the way they were talking between the two parties. right? Because they don't have the rec authority in here, so when you change A and B that you're talking about, it changes language within it.
Yeah, that's why, that's.
So, yeah, maybe we just ask Frank to say, hey, can we take the Liberty one and turn it into this one?
That would be the easiest,
Because we,
yeah.
because we vetted that one pretty well, I thought, from a language and everything else.
I thought that was what we were gonna get.
Yeah,
I think we did too.
yeah, I was expecting that, so.
Let's just go back to Frank on that.
And the other question too, you may want to ask before you even go to Frank is Verizon willing to cover your legal expense? Is Verizon willing to cover the legal expenses?
And any land development expenses,
I think that's in the, I think Frank mentioned that.
was it? Okay.
I'm not sure about cost, but yes, you're right. That would be part of it as well. Because essentially you're going to go into this lease and not incur any further cost. Now, a little bit of attorney's fees, okay, but a full review and then back and forth, that could get costly. In fact, it did the last time.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what it would cost the land development that they're talking about and what the expectation is for who's going to cover that cost, because that could, put this project out if we have to pay for it pretty far out there before we start recouping costs, depending on what that
When
price.
you say land
price tag
development,
comes
are we
in.
talking the easement?
In Frank's review, he mentioned the need for a land development. I think the way it's worded now would need a subdivision, but that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, and then they were also talking about a meter if we can't obtain separate meter. The only other thing that came up in conversation was the property itself. As far as, is Verizon gonna have to get a variance for that property or for that site? Or is the way that it is set up currently, we can just say you go?
There has to be if I recall correctly, a variance to the airport zone, which has to do with height. And there again,
Yeah, I mean,
costs involved.
What he was saying is that he looked at all of our whatever bylaws, statutes, law, everything that's in there, and the way they have it designed complies with everything from a height, distance, setback. He just didn't know if the land is zoned appropriately to be able to just put that in there.
The land is zoned appropriately, but he's going to need a variance for airport zone. And he would have to actually look for the airport zone criteria to find out that he doesn't comply. I can't believe they would have lowered the height to the extent that they wouldn't need that.
I think he only has it at 127 feet. I believe after they,
We'd have to do a quick look at it.
Yeah.
Because I think we were at 160
yeah,
the first time
top
around.
of the highest existing structure, 125 feet. So when they were out, because they've done a few things out there, they went and did a site check. I think they did a
Survey.
phase one, end of last week. And he wants to do
Yeah, it's going to be in the zone.
something on this Friday.
We're here,
What was that one?
I think that's the survey.
radiates.
Just a full survey.
Yeah. The
Okay.
site assessment was first.
So I mean, I guess on his end, and I did have that conversation after me and you emailed when, with regards to make sure that he knows that nothing's been voted on. And he was okay with all of that. And then same token saying he would love to have that survey done too, because if he would cancel it, it could be 2 months before they could do it again. I mean, it's all Verizon's money anyway that they're spending, but we got some work to do, I think, right?
I think we do.
I mean, if they want to expedite, the ideal thing is that they're willing to cover your
Cover the
legal costs
expenses.
and have Frank talk to their guys and make it work. And bring it back to you.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, don't rush. We don't want to
I don't
rush.
need to rush or say, hey, how about you contact Frank, you guys are picking up all the legal bills and this is what we need.
Okay.
I have a conversation with Frank and say, you know what liberties look like, you know what we need here from the township standpoint, work with them and build them.
Otherwise, it's gonna take months.
Right. But that's pretty much, I mean, that's all really the conversation I had with them, other than after that, because they kept wanting to do, we had the phase one, we had the site one, now they want the other one. And I don't want to keep telling them no or wait, we don't know, but I guess, they have schedules they need to try and stay on top of, because even with getting all this done, I don't think they're ready to go till spring anyway,
And use that to our advantage if we play it right.
Yeah. Okay, so I can have that conversation, with, I think it's James and Andrew I'm dealing with. As far as rent wise, like, are we okay with 1875 base rent, and then there's like 2% escalator after 5 years, and
And you may want to discuss that in executive session. After we're off Zoom.
do we have anybody else join?
Well, I'm recording, so
Yeah, let's just,
We can do that.
okay.
So that's my update.
Thanks, Dan. The only thing I would ask is, and this is probably a conversation for a meeting towards the end of the summer when this materializes a little bit more, but similar to how we had the open discussions for the public on the 2 meetings that we had when we were talking about the rezoning for, the front parcel. Cindy or Tom, would you recommend doing something similar where we kind of like open it up to the public to have this discussion about the cell phone tower, or is that something that we don't necessarily want to have meetings about specifically?
I think we want to be transparent with the public, period. How that transparency presents itself, I think that should be something that we should discuss at upcoming meetings.
it is advertised on the agenda each time we discuss it, so it is available and out there. As was the last time we discussed it.
Okay. Moving on to the Finance and Operations Committee. I don't think we have anything to discuss. There's a couple of items that would fall under that committee, but are under the action items, unless Tom or Dave, you had something to discuss or review.
I don't think we have anything to review other than the cash requirements report later in the meeting, that's all.
Yep. That's it. I'm bringing that up, moving on to that now.
Okay,
And I reviewed that, looked it over, seemed pretty standard, with some of the stuff that they had to buy. I guess my only question is, when we start to get some of this equipment for Joe, is it gonna fall into like one of these monthly reports, or is it something that comes up as like an ad hoc?
It will show up on the monthly reports when the payments are being made. We did make a payment to turf equipment. But that was paid out of the funds that were in the golf, that were still in the golf fund, because that was budgeted into the golf budget. But going forward,
Okay.
it will be something that you'll see on the reports.
Anybody have any questions about the cash report?
no, looks good to me.
So I will go ahead and ask for a vote to approve the cash requirements report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approving the cash requirement report, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Is approved. We'll move on to the budget to actual report. Anyone had any questions or discussion for that? I will go ahead and ask for or make a motion to approve the cash budget report. Or the,
So moved.
A second.
all in favor of approving the actual budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Is approved. Cindy, do you want to discuss the full-time employees? I know I saw your email and have read the links, but just for a little discussion.
Sure. So what I'd like to do is discuss it further in executive session as we get into the particulars and the employees involved. But generally speaking, Jim has presented a proposal to the rec authority to hire a full-time person in the pro shop. Currently, the person that he has in mind is working just over 30 hours per week. Once you work 30 hours per week on average for the year, the township, the rec authority would be responsible for providing benefits to that person the following year. So as if it progresses the way it has, and Jim has demonstrated the need for the 30 hours plus, come 2024, we're going to have to provide benefits to this gentleman or find another solution. So Jim, I don't know if you want to explain your proposal to them and your job description that you prepared and where you see the need and why you see the need.
Like stated in the letter, we've just come to a point where the business itself is so busy now, the growth in revenue, that John and myself are pulled away from tasks that we need to get done to continue to grow the business. And to have somebody, a third person to rely on to help out with some of this stuff would be essential in continuing that growth. Right now, I see certain things that we just don't have the time to get to, which I would like to see us get to that point where we can get after that business and grow it.
In defense of the full-time person, you also have to keep in mind that we're coming off of Terry Morton being at the golf course. She ended her tenure at the golf course, I think in 2020, we decided. End of 2020. So we have 21, 22, and 23 without Terry Morton, which probably safe to say she was a person and a half because she spent her life there. So that has impacted as well.
Okay.
Well,
Do we want to move this to executive session and move on down the agenda?
I think you probably want to move it to executive session so we can get into more details. And I would assume that I don't expect a decision tonight and one doesn't need to be made, but perhaps it could go to the finance committee, operations committee for review and come back at the June meeting for further discussion.
I'd agree with that. I think as time wore on, we got more and more information about this, and I think I haven't had a chance to really analyze it the way I think that we need to when it comes to this. I recognize the revenue improvement that we've seen this year, and that's great. Just one thing off the top of my head, Jim, and I'm going to be generally supportive of your request. Can you give us some examples of some of the things that you're unable to do because of your workload now that you think will have a significant impact on our revenue line? I think it would all help us to understand that better as we evaluate the need.
Yeah, our biggest thing is just being able to go after more tournament revenue or tournament business, as well as leagues. That's revenue that we basically can count on, especially with the leagues in the evenings. But like I said, we don't have the time to. John would love to be able to put together some in-house leagues, some in-house tournaments. But when you're working the counter, we're covering cart shifts. I mean, unfortunately, the way we've got it set up, the person in the pro shop is also the cart attendant, the starter, as well as a ranger when needed. So John and myself are always backup. And obviously, when we're trying to get work done, then we get pulled away and we've got to cover the counter instead of just normal times that we would do that. It's above and beyond with the business we're doing currently, and we have done for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay, again, that's great. If you could maybe just drop us all a note on that and let us know. And also if you can estimate how much of a revenue improvement that you think we can get to.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
And Cindy, I like that idea of the finance and lease negotiating committee taking the reins on that, so we can maybe set up a meeting to, kind of dig into all that and see, what we need to do. So I'm going to move down to the next action item, which is the LED lighting proposals.
So we were approached by our broker that handles our electrical rates. And he has a company that he works with, which is Bottom Line. We got a quote from them. We also felt that we needed a second quote. And so we reached out to MVE, who the township deals with quite often. And so we have 2 quotes, very similar in cost. The township supervisors did look at this for the admin and public works facilities, and they approved moving forward with MVE. It's now before you for the 4 seasons, and you can see the number there. Bottom line is 14,392. MVE is a 13,116, and that is before the rebates. Because the rebates vary, so I figured I'd get the bottom line number. I also reached out to Blue Collar and had their facility, their leased area looked at. And you see those numbers there, 6231 and 7506. They declined to cover that cost. So they are not moving forward. And this wasn't said if they have to pay for it. The assumption was that they would pay for it, and they have declined to move forward. And they pay the full electric bill on their leased area. So I hopefully would be looking for some sort of action, because the rebates do change June 1st. They go down.
And they are currently the low, MVE is the lowest
For the 4 seasons,
for
yes.
season, yeah. Oh. For 4 season, you're right. Okay,
I'm sorry, not 4 seasons.
Interesting.
Yeah, golf course, yeah.
the golf course, right.
Interesting. The rebates are higher on MVE, and I would think they'd be the same.
I know we got the paperwork for the admin and the public works department, and the rebate numbers changed slightly. They went up because he found additional sources of rebates or loopholes or something. So the rebates on those 2 went up.
Does anybody have any questions?
I mean, if you look at Bottom Line, they did provide us with an in-depth review, and you can see the cost savings. So there's definitely cost savings. I think the payback is 2 or 3 years. But we don't have to do it either, and it's not in your budget.
And on the spreadsheet here where you have admin and public works, that's already been done. Or they did an estimate on everything.
They did an estimate on everything, and that was approved to move
Okay,
forward.
those were approved, okay.
And we will save on the utility bills almost immediately, right?
As soon as the work is done,
As
yes.
soon as the work is done. So
'Cause your meter will get-
gradually over a 2-year period, we'll make back whatever it is that we've invested up front.
Yes.
Okay.
And is it something that would, I guess, affect Jim, or is it something that they can do rather quickly?
It depends on part, I'm sorry, it depends upon parts. It's not the fixtures, it's not the things you see, it's the ballast and how that connects.
It's the internal workings.
Yes, thank you. That's going to be replaced. So it probably goes fairly fast.
While this isn't necessarily in our budget, the payback, I think, is attractive that it's only 2 or 3 years. And then it's money back in our pocket going forward. So I'm ready to make a motion to approve that we go ahead with this.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, Doug, I agree with you. I think we're moving forward to try to make this a first-class operation, and if we're gonna make it back, this is the right thing to do unless someone can tell me something I'm missing here.
And moving forward with MVE,
Yes.
Yes, I would, yeah, thank you. I make the motion. We approve the proposal from Meadow Valley Electric.
I guess my only question would be, are we approving it while doing the blue collar space or not doing blue collar space?
No. we're not doing
Let's
the-
let that, set that
They pay-
aside
they
for
pay
the
their
time
own bill.
being. That's my
Right,
opinion.
I just didn't know if that, if there was
Expectation.
not expectation,
Or connection between the two.
a connection between a common area, something that, or that it would just make sense in general overall, but I'm okay with, I'm okay with that as well. Not doing blue collar and doing our.
So we
metered-
have
our
meter-
Metered spots.
meter stops, draws, whatever, that we can segregate just their cost.
And from the golf course side, is it going like the lighting over that barn area, like that, the attic and all that stuff, or is it just,
Any place there was a light.
okay,
I know Bottom Line has a list in theirs at the end, and I'm pretty sure it included the maintenance building as well.
Is Blue Collar agreed with this idea?
No,
No.
no,
they didn't.
they don't, they're not in. We don't, and they don't need to be.
So we had a motion and we had a second to adopt the MVE proposal. So I will take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Approved. The MVE contract is approved. So Cindy, I guess, will you reach out to them and let them know that we've approved this and they can, what would be the next step? They just start doing the work, or?
Yeah, there's a contract that needs to be signed, and I'll advise them tomorrow.
Okay. Well, if you need me to, I can run over at some point to sign it if I need to sign, or if somebody else can sign it, just because I know you said that it changes in June.
Yes, June 1st.
So we-
If you want to include in your motion to authorize myself to sign the contract, I can just move forward with it.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of having Cindy sign the contract, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Approved. All right, thank you, Cindy.
Yep.
I'll move down to, unless I don't think we have any other action items, at least on the agenda. I'll move down to Jim, if you want to provide any feedback on your golf operations update.
Jim, do you have any updates?
working the front desk.
Guess not.
And you might be on mute if you're talking because we can't hear you.
Yeah, he is.
He's closing tonight, so he might be busy with what's going on at the court.
John, do you have any comments?
Nope.
It's still pretty impressive that greens fees are up 33% from last year. As dry as it's been this month, I can only imagine they've gotten a lot more playable days too.
I haven't played over there yet this year, but I've heard good things about the course.
Well, they've got new equipment to use to upkeep.
Year to date, we're up almost 50%. You know, we're on a good trend this year. Everybody's done a great job down at the course, and we've taken it, you know, the opportunities presented itself, and I think the people there have executed on it, so.
Don, does Joe have any update on the one piece of equipment we still need?
No, not that I know of. Last I heard was maybe June, but I don't think we have any solid date yet.
Okay, thank you.
And what about the carpet? Do you like the look of the carpet
Oh,
in the
that's
pro
right.
shop?
John, how's the carpet going? I know it's in.
I've heard only good things about the carpet. We're just working on getting that front area before you enter the pro shop. We got to get that done still. I think we're ripping that out and black coating on it, I believe, or paint or something like that.
Yeah, so the carpet in the pro shop went down. It looks great. Saw a picture of it. Haven't been out yet. And like John said, they're working on the front landing entrance way and getting that done. It really brightened up the pro shop. So.
Good. Does anyone have any discussion for goals, objectives for the golf course that they want to bring to the meeting and discuss?
Nothing.
All right. We got a lot going on. Minutes of the previous meeting. So I was not at the previous meeting. Cindy, are you able to have someone in the room take a vote for approving the minutes?
Sure.
I'll move their adoption.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. And a vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Do we have any public comment? I don't think there's anybody in the room or on the phone, but I'll just open it up for a second.
I don't believe there is. It's just employees and no one in the audience.
Okay. So I will make a motion to move into executive session
And not return.
and not return.
I'll second that.
All approved or all in favor of moving to executive session?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'm,
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Cindy, just turn off the recording.
So I'll turn off the recording and I would ask Don and John to log off. Please.
Thank you.
Point of clarification or technicality, that's 501 on that vote, wasn't it?
Yes, 501. Why doesn't it stop recording? I'm trying to get it to stop recording. It's not cooperating with me. Oh, because I'm not the host.